one of the most polarizing figures inside the Trump administration is now gone. Scott Pruitt resigned from his role as administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency on Thursday. So this was following months of controversies regarding reckless spending, ethical concerns, issues with his his management role inside the EPA.
And immediately when he got in there, what did he try to do? He attempted to give some longtime colleagues a raise under the table.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, to me, I'm really not surprised because Trump is a self-perpetuating vortex that attracts like people who are blatantly greedy and kind of engulfed in their own self-interest.
Right.
Because it's like I said, immediately when he got into his position, he proved himself to be a professional, high-level grifter.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because he had all that controversy surrounding how he spent money.
Yeah.
He spent like $3.5 million on a 20-man deep security team, 2 times more than the normal.
And the security team would be servicing his personal needs as well, like shopping, finding his wife a job, stuff like that.
$1,500 on pens, $43,000 on some sort of soundproof phone booth.
Yeah,
phone booth.
Soundproof booth inside his office at the EPA.
$160,000 in airfare. How do you do that in a short period of time? How?
He was flying first class every time, man. I don't know, man. Like I said, there was a number of controversies. Actually, there are more than a dozen federal investigations because of all his controversies. And there was the place that he was renting, $50 a night for his room.
That ain't that bad. That ain't that bad.
No, it's definitely not that bad. But see, the owner of this place was the wife of a very influential lobbyist.
So that's not a good look.
Very improper.
So yeah. So even like the stuff that didn't even have to do with his primary responsibilities, he wasn't handling that stuff in a very ethical and professional manner.
No.
But as far as his primary responsibilities, he kind of did the opposite of what the agency's name suggests. The agency that he's presiding over.
So the Environmental Protection Agency is supposed to protect the environment.
He was doing the opposite.
Yeah, he was doing the opposite.
Yeah, he basically served as an inside man for the fossil fuel industry.
He did, yeah. And Trump was always very congratulatory of his efforts, and that didn't stop today. On Twitter, he said, "I have accepted the resignation of Scott Pruitt as the administrator of the Environmental Protection Agency. Within the agency, Scott has done an outstanding job, and I will always be thankful to him for this. The Senate confirmed deputy at EPA Andrew Wheeler will on Monday assume duties as the acting administrator of the EPA. I have no doubt that Andy will continue on with our great and lasting EPA agenda. We have made tremendous progress, and the future of the EPA is very bright."
Wait, you've made tremendous progress, but the current person is stepping down. You don't, let people go that are making progress.
Well, you see here, okay.
Oh, it was an experiment. Is that what it was?
Well, he did get a lot done. He did get a lot done. It was just that all of these controversies were in the background, and he couldn't escape it. I mean, you remember weeks ago when we were talking about this, because there were several issues. Like there's more than a dozen federal investigations into this guy, but we talked about him in multiple different programs, and I said it's not if, it's when. He's gone. We just didn't know when it was going to happen. There was no way he was going to continue to fill this role. It was just a matter of when it was going to catch up to him. But like I said, he has done a lot. So as administrator of the EPA, Pruitt has rolled back several Obama-era policies, such as the Clean Power Plan, Clean Water Rule, methane standards for oil and natural gas drillers. Weeks ago, it was reported that the EPA would relax greenhouse gas emissions standards for cars because the auto industry said that it was unattainable.
And he also attempted to gut the internal advisory boards of the EPA and fill those positions with people who are anti-science.
Yep. So again, he has made some work. I'm like, if you have to understand what Trump would define as progress to say that, Scott Pruitt definitely did make progress.
And the only thing, like, if he wasn't so, I guess, flamboyantly corrupt,
right,
he probably would have still had his position.
He would have still had his position.
So it's like the same things that kind of affects Trump's daily life, his political life, is affecting Pruitt.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because Pruitt is essentially like bringing attention to all of the negative stuff he's doing. You know what I'm saying? So I don't know. He just seems to represent everything that Trump said he didn't want in his administration.
Oh yeah, drain the swamp.
Drain the swamp.
Not input more
not
swamp.
Not put swamp creatures.
Yeah.
In the administration.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? Like I said, all the things we just went over very briefly, and those are just a small portion of the thing.
Well, then maybe we misunderstood him then. When he said drain the swamp, maybe he just didn't like that particular swamp. Maybe he just wanted to put in place his own swamp.
Oh, well, you know what? Words are important.
Yep.
So maybe he didn't mean drain the swamp. He just meant drain a swamp.
Or this swamp. Yeah,
or a
whatever.
Particular swamp.
Exactly.
But
there's many swamps. There's many swamps.
There's many swamps.
When you drain a swamp, you're not draining
all the swamps.
Exactly. See, that was our fault. That was our fault. The guy that is stepping into his role, Andrew Wheeler, at least temporarily, he's no peach. This isn't good news. Scott Pruitt was bad news, but it doesn't mean that the one that's replacing him, like I said, at least temporarily, is good news. He's bad news as well. So his last gig, his last stop in the world was as a coal industry lobbyist. He worked for Murray Energy Corporation, which is the largest coal mining company in America. He also does not seem to believe in climate change, which could be a problem for the administrator of the Environmental
Protection Agency.
Could be a little,
Seems like he is going to do the same thing that Scott Pruitt did.
Yeah.
And kind of.
Seems like a conflict of interest.
Yeah. Like he's going to do the opposite of what the agency's name spells out.
Yeah. So again,
another inside man.
Yeah, no doubt. He comes from coal mining, comes from fossil fuels, of course, man. And this is, this is no surprise. We know who Trump is. We know the people that he's going to appoint to these roles. So if it isn't Andrew Wheeler that gets to keep this position as the administrator, it's going to be somebody just like him. It's going to be somebody just like Scott Pruitt.
So one gator crawls out for the swamp.
And another one comes right back in. Yeah. But maybe this other gator won't have the same scandals, but they will have the same agenda.
I think that's what matters.